SEO for restaurants. How SEO works based on search engine optimization. That is a key thing that we all are here for today. And we also want to really ask ourselves a very simple question. What is the major goal and why are we even choosing these restaurants? And the funniest part about this whole thing, it's not even funny, it's very serious, but I think it's funny because when these are the very same things that we look for on a daily basis, especially when we think about our lives, like we depend on so many things, including food, water, air. These are things that we as human beings need. So if these are the things that we need, then how do we use these things to proceed and do the right things that we need to do just to make sure that we can get the right results based on what we're discovering, right? Because it's not everything that we see that we do or we get. So we have to really think through these things and ask ourselves, what are the major things that are we going for? And there are restaurants out here that need this help, and I'm looking at the charts and I'm like, yeah, these are things that we're going to talk about because I don't want to just blubber content. I want to be very specific with my content so that you can also see how beneficial it could be for you as a business and what it could be for you, too, when you're creating content for your own business. And if you're also interested in this, welcome, Shay, Abdullah, Leslie, and Falu. Appreciate you for being here. The link at the top is a link to my article. I wrote this article. It took me about 2 days to really put it together. So that's why you'll see it was edited today because I woke up this morning. I was like, I need to do this and this and this. Like, because I'm in music. So when you hear a song and you feel like you've heard everything and you sleep and you wake up and you feel like, yeah, I need to add a few things. That's what happened today with this article. So it's a piece of art. This is a 5-minute read. It's between SEO versus AEO versus GEO. And a lot of people are like, huh? It's the same thing, but they're different things. So navigating the future of search is here. And I wanted to really use this as an anchor point so that you can take 5 minutes, read it, but also subscribe and sign up so that you can get more context. So whenever you're ready to read it, it's always in your inbox. SEO for restaurants is a big topic. I don't even know why most people don't think about this, but this is exactly what happens. Whenever you're hungry, if that's why I specifically did this room at this time. It's afternoon, it's 1 p.m. Central, it's lunchtime, right? It's lunchtime somewhere. And when people are hungry, they go online, right? If you're hungry right now, you're gonna go online, you're gonna go to, in fact, we're gonna do a quick tally here. If you do DoorDash, put DoorDash in the chat. If you do Uber Eats, if you cook at home, if you just buy stuff from the groceries and you just chill, put that in. Just put in the chat. I want to see. Put in the chat if you do any of these things because these are the very same things that we are going to be talking about today from a consumer side and also from a business side. So they're going to be two sides, and we're going to handle them separately. So put in the chat, let me know, and we're going to talk about it. So we are on a special time because at the top of the hour, I have to jump off, and I wanted to make sure that this hour is used fully and is done well. So if you have any question, put it in the chat, let me know, and we can talk about it. So I want to really cover this because this is a burning topic, and I want to make sure that whoever's listening to this after this is listening to this from now, henceforth, you can apply these things. And I'll say this and I'll jump off the roof for this. First thing, when you have a restaurant as a business, you have a location. Your restaurant is not online. They're not, I don't know, there's a thing because there's only one restaurant I heard of, and it was a crazy one. I think it was documented that there was this story about a restaurant that never existed, but actually had food. and served people, and people actually came and actually got to experience the food, but there was no restaurant. It was a crazy thing. It's so crazy. I remember seeing it one time. I was like, this thing is wild. So, but in that's once in a yellow moon. So that doesn't happen. Barely, seldom happens. So most restaurants, any restaurant you go to has a kitchen. You walk into the restaurant or you order from the restaurant, right? But there's a location at the restaurant where food is being processed, where food is being cooked. And these are restaurants that people like to visit on a frequent basis. So if people like to frequent on a frequent basis into these restaurants, then they're going there because of the foods that they like to eat. They're going there for pasta. They're going there for chicken. They're going there for steak. They're going there for, they have this probably this soda that everybody likes, or they're going for this appetizer. They're going there because the dessert is so good. They're going there for a specific reason. So if you have a restaurant and you serve food and you deliver food outside your restaurant, meaning that you have a delivery service, whether it is local, international, because I know it's not just only the US that is, Uber Eats and DoorDash and, the rest of them are there too, Grubhub. There are other ones too that I know of. There's some in Europe and in Africa that are also there too, like Glovo. So I look at these things and I'm like, okay, great. This may not be for everybody, but this information is so important that if you listen to this and you're a restaurant owner or you plan on starting a restaurant and you have a business online, then you need to make sure your restaurant is being seen too online. Because the worst thing is for your website not to be active or have a business that can be seen online when you're paying for a lot of things to keep your business on. So the least you can do is at least get your website in a position where you can actually gain traffic. Because if people are looking for a specific type of food, what's going to draw the food to them are the pictures. That's the first thing. Consumer wise, they've not had a taste. They don't know what it smells like. They know what they want, but they don't know whether this specific restaurant is the right restaurant for their taste. So they might like, but they may not like that hibachi, right? They might like pizza, but not that pizza spot. So what makes that place different? And majority of the time, when you have a business that has a website that is a restaurant based website, and you have food as a menu, whether you're serving the menu in person and you have an online website, and that happened a lot back in COVID when everybody had to use their phones to scan to get to the menu because no one could touch, you couldn't use the same menus. No one could touch that. So times have changed now. Some people are still using that concept, still applying that policy today. Scan the code, why it works, why not? Why are we changing it? And they're going to scan that code and they're going to be redirected to a website. That website has information about your food, about policies, about how we serve, whether we do breakfast or dinner, or what time do we do dinner? Is it from 4 p.m.? Is it from 6 p.m.? Is it from 1 p.m.? When do we start and when do we stop? And those things are also translated to Google. They're translated to Yelp. They're translated to Bing. These are places where people will search first. They won't come to your website to look for the office hours or the restaurant hours. They're going to find it on Google first. But your website needs to have it too. So it's not like, oh, Google my business or Google business profile has it. So why would I need to have it on my website? That's because if somebody comes to your website, they want to know how your website is. They want to interact with your website. So if your website says we also deliver with Grubhub or with Uber Eats or with DoorDash, you have a profile. You're going to have to create a profile with these brands, right? Whether you're driving or whether you are delivering or whether you're partnering, you're going to have a link. And that link is going to be your unique link. So that link is what you're going to use as a profile card. If you have an Etsy store, that's your link. If you have a Facebook account, that's your link. If you have an Amazon store, that's your link. If you have a TikTok shop, that's your link. So your link is your identification tool that gives you access to where people want to connect with you from. So you have a vantage point. So now if someone is looking at this link, you're presenting them a list of food items. We serve this, we serve that. So if we serve to Uber Eats and to these other brands, that's a backlink, not to you, but as an off page. Don't get this confused. Off page SEO simply means that a page that is online that is talking about your website is in the form of social media or in form of a mention. So if I mention you in a review and I say, "Oh, this was the best sushi I've ever had. This restaurant was amazing." And I name the restaurant and I actually name the sushi type or the name of the actual dish I had, then that's going to be an off page SEO strategy because now I'm off your website, but I'm learning about your website. So that's why reviews are huge for restaurants. Huge. Welcome, Dirk, Dimit, Averell, and Margaret. Well, Margareta, hope I said it correctly. Reviews are huge for restaurants, hotels too. Definitely hotels, for sure. When you have a restaurant and people are reviewing, when they want to know where, like let's say one is 3 miles away, another one is 5 miles away, another one is 7 miles away. The one that's 7 miles away is 4.9 reviews with 4.9 stars with let's say 1,500 reviews. The one with 4.5 may have let's say 500 reviews at 4.6. And let's flip it. Now, the one that has less or the least, right, that has, a good set of reviews, maybe would have a 4.9, but they have 33 reviews. Now, one is 3 miles, one is 5 miles, one is 7 miles. They serve the same food. The difference is the reviews, the quality, the distance, and of course, the business. So, what would make you go to the one that's 7 miles away as opposed to one that's 3 miles away? Because there are more people that went to the one that's 7 miles away, meaning that people travel for an experience, as opposed to the one that is 3 miles away. That, yeah, a lot of people have given a good star rating, but I can go there if I'm in a hurry. But if I really want to go for an experience, I'd rather go there because I know there I have to dress up, I have to take photos, I have to do a few other things, to enjoy myself there. I'm not just going there to eat. So the restaurant now has not just the food as the experience, but also the distance as a thought process. So how does SEO work in this regard? If you're a business owner listening and you're thinking about your restaurant and asking yourself, how can my restaurant become the restaurant that people can see? Then you have to think about reviews as one of your top priorities because reviews is what's going to really make somebody want to learn more about your business. If you have the best sushi, the best steak, the best fish, I love seafood. If I go in, I'm like, this is dope, I'll go in. I have a local guide on my account and I always leave reviews. Right now, I think I've given over 60 reviews on my account. So I have this little orange badge on my account that talks about like a local guide. So when I give a review, it's like a credible review about the food or about restaurant. So I don't just review every restaurant I go to, but I'm like, okay, this deserves a review. And it goes. I come back, I'm hearing, oh, you have 2,000 views on this. And this is like a month or two later and it's their restaurant. I have nothing to do with that. I just talked about what I liked. But somebody else that's considering going to that same place that I went to last week, last month, last year, now can read that review and feel more confident. Just like with Amazon. Before you buy something on Amazon, you're going to read the review first. So reviews are big for restaurants. And if you don't consider reviews, how is your business going to thrive? Because people will think, oh, this person doesn't have any reviews, meaning that nobody came here. Guess what? If I had 1,000 visitors every day coming to my restaurant and nobody left a review, Do you think the person that wants to visit that restaurant will know that this place is as good as it is because there was no review? Let's think about that. John, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Good afternoon, and I'm coming to you, Shay.
Yeah, so here's my thoughts. Number one, I'm kind of eavesdropping. Although I don't have a restaurant, uh, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about SEO content and reviews. Here's my take on it, and I might be wrong about this. Is when you have reviews added, it creates more content for search engines to spider, and it keeps your site alive and fresh. And of course, positive reviews always help if you want to get new business. Um, so from that point of view, I really put a lot of emphasis on reviews. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, John. That's a great comment. And hey, Portia, good to have you here. I see you down there. Thanks for being here today. You know, you're so right on this. Like the reviews definitely have a role to play in the trajectory of the business success. And when you leave a review, it's also leaving an impression on the person's business. Because especially if they're very new business, most times when you go to a new business, a new restaurant, they'll say, hey, leave us a review, leave us a review. That review is so special to them because they know that the next person that's looking for a restaurant like that will use that review as a determining factor as to whether they're going to be in that restaurant or not, or go to the one next door. So it's such a critical thing that even in decision making with platforms like DoorDash or Uber Eats, people will not even think twice when they see reviews that are scaling on different axes because if can see that this place is actually doing better and I try it and I like it, then I don't have to try the other one to like the other one because I already have something I like. So people like to stay in the comfort zone of the foods that they enjoy because they want to go to the same place to get the same experience. So I wouldn't see, unless they're, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Adventurous. That's great. That can definitely be a great thing to do. But I feel like it will take some time for someone to really like get uncomfortable with trying something like that out and then going in. So yeah, it definitely has a different change on the mood. Even to what Shay says about, you also always reply to all the reviews, especially the 5 stars. And I see businesses that only reply to bad reviews. Right. Some businesses don't reply to, good reviews, bad reviews. It's like why? And some businesses don't do it, some do, because you think about some businesses like a Nike store. How many reviews are they going to reply to compared to a mom and pop shop? So it's like, where does the balance fall? Like, where do we scale in between these lines, and how do we really see where do we draw the line? Let me say it like that, because it's harder to see it like that when we now try to understand that we're trying to really get information. The reviews is what makes the brand, and then some people just respond back when they feel like, or if they have to. Some people don't do it at all, so it's like, why are we doing it in the first place? But when you start measuring and seeing how people actually react to it, there's a mood. Because if somebody gets on a phone call with you or talks to you after they've just read your review, there's a way they're going to respond back to you or expect something from you because of the way they felt like you've experienced something from someone else. So it's going to have a kind of like a shake in the rough, if I can put it like that. There's going to be a lot going on, and replying is just as much for the folks reading than it is for the person posting. That's true, Shay. It's true, because if you don't respond to it, then it's like, do you care? And you can still go back and respond to everybody at once, which is a good thing too. But at the same time, it's like, okay, the person that's reading it, I believe, is looking at it from a relationship standpoint. Like, if I treat you somehow and you look at me treat somebody the way you don't like to be treated, you would not want to talk to me because of the way I treated that person. So it's kind of like a counter effect. It's like it's a refraction. So if I treat the person that I'm talking to well, then somebody will feel like, yeah, I want to talk to that person too. I like that person's energy. I want to actually connect. I want to shake that person's hand. I want to feel connected to them. Then there's an attraction to that, as opposed to a repulsive feeling. So when you do the same thing as a review, it's the same thing that somebody's going to read that review and hear how you respond to the review, and will now be the judge, even though we're not supposed to judge because we shouldn't, we're not perfect. But they can be, I can say they could be they could be a good judge of character. They could be a good conduct to look at and say, huh, maybe there's something about this that maybe could have conspired or would have happened. We don't know the story, but at least we can see the reaction. We can see how that responds. Eventually, it looks good to the person because now they feel like if this happens again, then there's a way to handle it. Or if it doesn't happen ever again, it's because of this experience. So it's more of a lesson than it is just a doing thing. Now, if I ask you, John, for example, when you think about a restaurant you're going to for the first time, what do you pay attention to? And then do you get the expectation you get out of what you experienced the first time you thought about going there?
Well, I'll admit I'm a little bit of an oddball. I don't check reviews at all. I go by, and I'm this way with people too. So I go by my own experience. I'll give you an example. My wife and I discovered a pizza place uh, 3 or 4 years ago that we were driving by, and I was like, "Hey, I'd heard commercials about it," and she's like, "I don't want to go in there. It looks like it's an old Burger King or something like that nature." Turns out it's the best pie we've ever had, the best garlic rolls we've ever had. The treatment was good. We become friends with the owners, and we go there about once every 6 weeks because it's not close by. I go more by what I'm interested in, and then I make my judgment based off of what my experience is. I do not go by what other people say.
I love that. It's great that we have these different responses because it's a better way of thinking outside the box so that we don't have to just stick in our own world and think that what we know is the only way to how people do things when things could be done differently. Like today, this is super unrelated, but because I can vividly remember it, I brushed my teeth today with the opposite hand that I use. I'm left-handed, right? But I brush with my right hand. That has a big effect on how you also process things when you think about it in the morning. So those are things that just spark people's days, sparks people's mindsets, sparks people's thought processes. Now that's an experience that you may want to have that you've probably never tried, or you can try with your less dominant hand and then see how that goes, right? But when you start thinking about what it does to your brain, what it does to your mind, what it does to your focus, it's a different reaction, and it actually plays. If you do that every day, there's a way you start to think that it changes a lot of things because you're pretty much going against the grain, you're going against the pattern, you're going against the flow. So these are things that you're thinking about as experiences. Now, if I was to think about what brands to go to when I'm thinking about that product, I would think about the ones that I'm used to. Now, if I think about restaurants I want to go to, now I'm picking a restaurant because I feel like that's a fancy name, or it's not too far, or I like the way they've set up their office, or they've set up their restaurant, or I like the music that they play. It could be something that's not even close to the food that they're serving, but it has everything to do with the brand that you're experiencing. So it's like, how do you let people know that you have that experience for people to see that it's not just the food? Because you can go to a restaurant for 5 years every Sunday. You can go there for 5 years straight, and the next Sunday you go, they change management, the chef changes, and the food is different. Will you still go to that same restaurant, or would you switch restaurants? What would you say, John?
If everything changed, and maybe I heard it wrong, so I'm kind of multitasking. If everything changed and not for the better, I would probably never go back. If it was for the better, I would continue my venture. I'd continue to go there.
Hmm. Okay. I like that answer too. Okay. There are different ways to look at this, because there are ways to love places, and when things change, you're like, oh, why did they change it? It was fine the way it was. Now we have to get used to this. It could be different, but when I look at it from the bigger picture, there's way more that you could get when you experience things from the receiving end, when you're able to try things out. Because for restaurants, Honestly speaking, when you look at restaurants or even think about restaurants, any restaurant you go to for the first time or you try food for the first time, it's your first time trying that food. Even now, there's probably some food you've never tried before that you could possibly try for the first time. So if you are the restaurant that person is trying that food for the first time, that experience is going to be everything to them, because that experience is going to let them know how other types of experiences should be. So you're not just looking at the restaurant as the place, you're looking at it as the experience and as the place that people will come to, that will tell other people to come to, that will experience the same thing you did. And for that to happen, they need to find you. So you may have the best chef in town, you may have the best recipe in town, you may have the best secret sauce in town, but if they cannot find your restaurant, it's going to be hard for them to connect with your food or even to like your food or even taste it in the first place. So, how SEO works for restaurants is you would first need to set up your business with a website. Not many restaurants have websites. Some do, some don't. Some say they need one, some say they don't need one. At the end of the day, right now we're getting to a point where with AI, referencing the link above, SEO versus AEO versus GEO, there's a lot going on, and I don't want to go too deep. And this is a 5 minute read, so you can read through it and read through the pointers. I haven't put a table of contents, so it's easier for you to go through it because it's a lot of information. But it's in a quick read, but it's loaded with a lot of information to the point where I even went into AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality. So the future of search is big. When people are going to be searching with their Apple Vision Pros, searching for content, it's getting big. When people are going to use Alexa and Siri to ask for food restaurants near them, it's a big thing. So I'm not just looking at today, I'm looking at the future of what we could be experiencing. So that's why I take this very seriously. And I'm happy that you're listening because you're taking it seriously too. So, how can you get your business out there? You need to connect your website first. Knowing that you need a website, you need to have your website connected to Google Search Console, connected to Bing Webmasters, connected to Yandex, connected to Pinterest, especially Pinterest, because you have a restaurant. So, why can't your business be on Pinterest? That's one of the places that you could thrive on. Definitely, Instagram is great for community, is great for connections, is great for DMs, is great for networking. But Pinterest, those images that when people are hungry and they're looking for foods to eat or recipes to try, you're the food. I'll call you the food image that they see because you created that food or you took a picture of that food, and that food picture or that food image is on Pinterest, which is now Google Images. Just think about it. Just think about how much food, how much food you can put out there, especially if you have a big menu or a robust menu. Even if you have a small menu, you can do a lot with that because when you have a restaurant, it's not just your product pages. Welcome back, Shay. And hey, Candice. What's going on, Wealth? It's not just your website, it's also your blogs. And a lot of restaurants don't do this. Some do, some don't. But the ones that do really know what they're doing, and they do it really well, especially like those like five-star restaurants. They definitely know what they're doing. They may not be doing articles, but they're definitely doing things like news feeds, product news, community news. They're using their website like actively, telling them, oh, we partnered with this company, or we did this with this business, or we invested in this, wholesale firm. Something is happening. We don't have to write blogs, because when people hear blogs, they feel like it's so informal. You want to write content. You literally, let me just throw away all the jargon. You want to create web pages. You want to create web pages that your website can be used for tracking information that people can also connect with. That's where things begin, because when people start looking for your content, they want to start learning, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? And as a website, There are two types of pages that are very important. Two types of pages that are very important. Others are, but these two, you can't do without these two because these two are the core. Like if anybody's building a website for you, if we're building one for you, if anyone else is building one for you, these are the two things that you would have to have. Like you can't miss these two because without these two, then there's no website. That's just the reality. These two have to coexist, right? Because if they don't coexist, then there's a problem with the infrastructure, right? Just like you think about your house, there are things that have to work together to stay together so that your house is in order. So the two things that really go together, the two things that coexist together for your website, right? I want to give you these two things. You already know them, but I just want to make sure it's emphasized tonight. Is this your course site page and your article page? Those are the two places, those are the two platforms, the two places that you want to have your content. Your course site page and your article page. You could say blog page, newsletter page, something page. It's an article page. What's a site page? What's a core site page? It's your home page. It's your about page. It's your contact page. It's your gallery page. It's your privacy policy page. It's all those pages that don't require much. They talk about exactly what they're there for. This is the about page. This is the page about the company. This is the home page. This is the page that leads you to everything that is in the home of the website. When you go to someone's home, there's a kitchen, there's a bathroom, there's a patio, there's a backyard, there are places that you can identify. There's a walk-in closet, there's a sink. There are things that you can identify, right? Those are core site pages. Those are things that you need to have in the house for it to be a house. For it to be called a house, those are the things that need to be in the house. You can't have a house without some things. If the house doesn't have a kitchen, if it doesn't have a roof, if it doesn't have a window, there's some things that need to be there for it to be considered or eligible or qualified to be called a house. So your website is a house. That's why it's called a website. It's a site, it's a property, it's a place, it's a domain, it's an address. What's your website address? That's the question. What's the URL? What's the uniform resource locator? So if you have a restaurant and your restaurant is called this or that, then this or that.com needs to have this or that pages. A contact page, an about page, the menu page, right? Because that menu page is technically a product page. You're not selling digital products with your menu. You're putting a menu maybe in form of a document that people can scan, or you use the actual web page, which is even smarter, and upload images so that you have the food displaying on your website for people to see. And then people say, oh, yeah, we need good quality images, but don't those images require a lot of space? Yes, they require a lot of space, but you need to crunch the space so you can create more space for more images. So if you have an image that is 2 megabytes because you took let's say you did a photo shoot for your photography, session, and you have great images, amazing looking images, these images are being seen on the web and they're really high quality, but they're definitely heavy in size. You need to compress your images. Go to compressor.io. What's up, Brandon? Been a long time. Good to have you here. And Adam, glad to have you here, and Carla too. Those pages, right, are important pages. So you have a core page that is defining exactly what this page is supposed to do. So if this page is going to be a page that says, here's the menu has this, this, and this, those images are heavy, especially if they're really good images. They want to be heavy. Now, if they're heavy, compress those images. Use compressor.io, compressor.io, and use the platform and compress your images for free. This information is for free. That's why it's a podcast. That's why it's information you can turn on, listen to. Not everyone takes action, but if you can hear it, for those who want to hear it and do it, there you go. You do that, you compress your images, and then you take your images to your website, and then you let your website be indexed to the search engines. Right now, with AI, with Google AI mode, with Gemini, with DeepSeek, with there's one called Kimi AI. There's so many platforms. There's Harper AI. There's so many platforms. I'm telling you these platforms because you will see them. It's not rocket science. You will see them. And these are the very same platforms that are answer engine optimizational platforms. So when people are going to be asking, hey, Alexa, tell me where I can go that has the best sushi downtown my state or downtown my city, then they're going to tell you here are the top three, or here's the only one that they could actually recommend. And then why is it that one and not the other one? The reason why is because there's something called schema markup. This is like the meat and potatoes of this topic today. Schema. When you have a menu on a website, it's not just a web page, right? We've talked about the two things that have to coexist, your core site page and your article page, right? Your article page, you can reflect that with a blog page, you can reflect that with a product page, with a policy page, but you need pages that move your website beyond just the home page. Because everyone can have a landing page, but that's not your website, that's a web page. So, if you have a menu and you serve breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, or you have dessert in each menu or in each category, then there's a section that says recipe. There's something in schema that talks about recipe. And that also applies on Pinterest. That's why I was saying earlier that if you're on Pinterest, it's literally like a home run for you because you're dealing with images, you're dealing with links, you're dealing with people's desires to actually take action, and you're in their faces at the time that they're expecting because they're looking for food, and you're the one that actually shows up with the information, right? You can be on TikTok, you can be on YouTube, you can be on Instagram. I'm not saying don't be on those platforms, be there, but don't only live there because you don't even live there because it's not your home. That's not your home, that's rented property. So when you move TikTok, Instagram, all these platforms, yes, you're using it to grow attention, build retention, gain awareness, let people know, hey, we're here, sign a post, catch me outside. Yes, but if those posts are not being reflected on your website, that's a huge miss because if you have schema on your website and that schema has a recipe, and let's say you serve rice and noodles, or let's say you serve pasta, you serve chicken wings, whatever it is, those food items that you have are actual items that people search for. Either they're going to search for them to know what the cost is. And speaking of cost, I just remembered. I'm so glad I remembered this because this is, if you've never heard this before, use this website. There's a website called Numbeo. Today I'm giving you guys like gems on gems. There's a website called Numbeo, like numb, when something is numb. Now, numb, EO. I'm going to put the link in the chat so that you can do your own research and check this out. Then there's, yeah, cost of living. There you go. Put that in the chat, click it. That's going to take you to cost of living. You can check the other things there too. You can check the cost of eggs, the cost of steak, the cost of things in it's not just US, it's worldwide, right? Now, I'm giving you insights today because I don't want, there's no excuse at all. There's no excuse not to win. So I want to make sure that I do my part by telling you what you could do so that if you want to do it yourself, fine. But if you need help, reach out to me, connect with me, you know, to click on the link and let's get on a call and talk about it. If you get to know these things, it will help you because now when you get to know what you're serving, let's say you're serving gluten free, or your restaurant is vegan only, or it's pescatarian only, or you only serve dairy products, or whatever it is, because people will have to ask, hey, is there any food you don't like? Are you allergic to anything? Because that's a whole big deal. That's a whole different topic for another day. I don't even want to go into that. That's a whole different discussion. Your restaurant is yours because you know what you serve. So when you have a restaurant and your responsibility is to let people know about your restaurant, when you have schema on your website and you have a menu page, each of those menu items will have schema connected, meaning that it's not just what the humans are reading, the people are reading, but the bots, the algorithm is also reading it too. Guess what? When you're, just think about this. Like, I just feel like this should give you a light bulb too. When you scan a code on someone's website at a restaurant and they're looking at the menu, they're actually looking at your website. technically. So what does that mean? If there are 30 people at your restaurant every hour, and every time they're spending about 5 to, let's say, 15 minutes looking at the menu, that's a lot of watch time. Think about that. Just let that sink in, because you're looking at your web page as a reference point. It's no longer a paper, it's a digital web page. So people are using that web page to decide, oh, I want this wine with this cake, with this ice cream, with this cookie, because these are the things that they see on your page. They're scrolling up, they're clicking, they're going back, they decide, oh, okay, now I know what I want. They'll close the tab. The next person comes, they do the same thing. So in the whole day, if your website has not caught, if you don't have the Google Search Console connected, if you don't have your trackings connected, if you don't have your Pixel connected, if you don't have these things connected, how will you know whenever you're running a sale? Let's say you're doing a campaign and people have come to your website, they say, hey, welcome to a website. And then you're just capturing their email addresses, capturing their email addresses every time they walk in. And the people who do walk in get a special offer, because you can say, hey, did you walk in, or is it online? You can say walk in. There's so many things you can do. I'm just giving these ideas because when I do them with you, you can see how they work for you too. But when you see these things are being done simultaneously, you want to create the possibility of letting more people know, this is where I'm doing things. This is how much these things cost. Let's say you're buying eggs in New Mexico and you figured out, oh, it's much better to buy them in North Dakota because you did research and it was maybe 3 cents less per whatever. You do the math and then you realize, oh, there's way more I could do with this. So it's not just about how much is a website or how much is SEO or how much, what do I need to do to make my SEO? Because that's a question. It's like running around in circles like a hamster wheel. It's not going to go anywhere. The goal is, we have a website. We already have things we sell. Let's work with what we already have. What don't we have? We don't have structure. We have unstructured data. We have eggs, we have bacon, we have milk, but we don't have cake. We need these things. We need to build up these things. So it's definitely a big way for us to really consider, how do we take these things to the next level, and how do we use SEO to just make sure that, yes, you use Grubhub, yes, you use Uber Eats, yes, you use DoorDash. Do these links show up on your website? Are they in the footer of your website? Do you have articles? Let's say a celebrity came to your restaurant. Did you capture that? Did you take photos? That's PR. Did you put that into your website and say, hey, check it out, this is what happened? And then you send an email to your community. They're going to come on the weekend because somebody showed up the week before. Then you have a surge in pricing because now you have a deal. Like, there's so many ways. I don't own a restaurant, but I love restaurants and I love to review them. So when I see good food, when I feel like this is well done, then why not? I met somebody at a hibachi just the other day, and it was such an honor to meet her. And I didn't expect this at all. And this is in Houston. So I met her, and with this hibachi, we were done, and she was with her daughter, and her daughter was her friend, and I was with my friend. And of course, you know, when you put together in a group, it's just different people. So I'm always like chilling, I do my own thing. Then I start reading the room, and I'm like, okay, people want to talk, they want to say something. So I talked about it, and I was even mentioning it. Come to find out, I don't know if you know this. This is also very unrelated, but it's very related because we're talking about food and restaurants. If you didn't know this today, because I knew about this research and then I got to realize that it's actually true when I talked to somebody who actually killed one. Elk meat. I don't know if you've ever heard of elk meat, ELK. Elk meat. Elk meat is the healthiest meat you can ever eat. I've never had it myself. I'm planning to, but it's hard to get it unless you kill it. And somebody showed me a picture on elk meat. Yeah, Austin, elk meat. And we were just talking. This was random. And then the next moment, another instance happened in another hibachi, and I meet this woman, and we're talking, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I love this place. I love this place. I always come here every time with my kids." And I'm like, "Okay," talking to her. Come to find out, she's the council member of the Houston board that deals with the rodeo in Houston that happens every year. And I didn't even know this, but this year's rodeo in Houston marked the 93rd annual rodeo. 93rd. That means they're going to in 20, this is 2025. So in 7 years, by 2032, they're going to be celebrating 100 years of doing the rodeo in Texas every March from day one to the day 30 or day 31, because March has 31 days in a year. Every single day is full of rodeo. Like you can go there, it's like a fun park, have a great time. And I didn't know she was one of them. So I said, hey, I would love to have you on the podcast. Welcome, Boo Daddy. I would love to have you on the podcast. What's up, Sherry? And bring you on so that we could talk about this amazing thing. And I'm like, this is dope. And she's like, yeah, let's talk about it. So we're going to have her on the podcast and she's going to talk about the whole history of the rodeo and how the history of Houston is. So for me, it's from having food conversations like this. And guess how I found that place? Reviews. I said, hey, let me look and see where do they have hibachi and like good places. And I saw this place. And I was like, huh, why not? I like what I saw. And I was not even like paying attention to what people were saying. Just like John said earlier, I was just saying, okay, reviews 4.9, 186. Okay, 4.7, 75. Okay, 4.3, 22. Like, I'm just doing the math and I'm like, okay, this should be good. This should be good. I'm not like going through each and every one of them, but just by looking at the round number, people are hungry. No one has time to be reading reviews when they're hungry. People want to eat food. So when you see that these reviews are signals to letting people know, hey, this is a good place, this is not a good place, this place is not as bad, this place can be tried, I can actually check this place out, then we can actually have that conversation. So it really builds into understanding how you lay out these places. And you just need to have a website, have good schema, put your all details together, make sure that your website is scannable, it's findable, and it's indexable. So that when people are connecting with you, anything that you do on social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you go, these platforms are all corresponding back to your website because your website is where everything begins. If people are going to go to your website because they found your restaurant on Google, it's because your website showed up first before your Google profile showed up too. So don't ignore your website because your website is going to make or break your day. And Brandon is here too. Austin says, hey, Brandon, and elk meat. Yeah, steak burritos from Montana is lean. So yeah, it needs a little fat. Yeah, I've never tried it myself. Would definitely love to hear it from you too. What's up, Brandon? Long time. Welcome back to the app.
Favor. What's up? Yeah, I literally just opened up the app and then I saw you and I saw obviously SEO and stuff. And I thought I'd jump in. Appreciate you inviting me up. I was just eating, to be honest. But I do have a funny story to tell, just briefly. I've helped a few restaurants because they're friends, not because they're clients. But as you know, you probably have other friends who are restaurant owners. But my uncle has a teriyaki restaurant in Puyallup, and it's called Kyoto Teriyaki. He reached out to me actually during COVID because business was plummeting, and basically there's no way for him to make money. And so he wanted me to help him figure out how to, connect with the DoorDashers of the world and stuff like that. And I got him all connected and all that, and fortunately he survived. Now, with that said, you should check this restaurant out because when you talk about reviews, I don't know if you know the Soup Nazi, but they compete with the Soup Nazi because his wife, my aunt, is the most hilarious person when it comes to customer service. She literally treats people like they're garbage half the time, and she doesn't really give a shit whether or not you come back or not. And so it's all reflected in the reviews. You could read it. It's literally comedic. You should. I actually want to do something where I just show how a restaurant could be. I don't know, because the funny thing is they're still busy despite the horrible reviews, because they're entertaining as fuck. I swear to God, you should read some of these. They're still doing fine, and they actually close their restaurant early every night. Like, I think they close at like 7:30. So like, not even enough time for people to to truly take advantage of their restaurant, because they feel like that's enough. They've taken care of the lunch crowd, and then they took care of the early dinner crowd, and then they just want to rest. It's just the two of them. But anyway, I echo everything you say. For most restaurants, they have to do all the stuff you're talking about if they can do it. What I have found, however, with all the restaurant friends that I have, and it includes like realtor friends, so there's certain industries where they just ignore us as SEOs because they just don't understand the value of it. Um, they they rarely have the budget as well, by the way, when it comes to SEOs. So it's fascinating. It's interesting watching, literally Yelp continue to be, or at least Google reviews, Yelp, and the things that right, that kind of take advantage of these restaurants. Even DoorDash and all these other companies and stuff like that, they're taking advantage of the restaurants, and you need to flip the game. And unfortunately, a lot of them aren't doing that. So maybe restaurant groups and things like that who have more money and potentially more staff can do it, but the individual restaurants themselves, they rarely ever do anything that we're talking about. So I'll land my plane if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense. Thank you, Brendan. It's just sad though that they're thinking about keeping the lights on when the lights online are not even on at all. And it's like they have to depend on whoever's nearby that finds them luckily enough to let somebody else know about how good their restaurant is. Because there's some restaurants you go to that never have traffic. They have a drive-through, but you never see cars there. There are some places that at 3 a.m. in the morning, you're seeing a drive-through that goes all the way back to round the whole block. So you wonder, it's the same people, but why is this place doing better than this other place? And what's driving online orders? What's driving those things? Right now, according to owner.com, go to owner.com, they did a search and they said the top 5 places that drives online orders. Number 1 is Google. Number 2 is social media. Number 3 is Yelp. Number 4 is email. And number 5 is referral. So restaurant SEO is big to the point where even DoorDash have DoorDash have literally a page on their website. And put that link in the chat because we're talking about food and restaurants so that you can also see this too. I put the link in the chat. They have a blog. So we're talking about blogs and restaurant SEO. And they say success leaves blueprints or success leaves clues. This is DoorDash giving you a clue. This is their website, merchants.doordash.com/en-us/blog/restaurant-SEO. They're saying improve restaurant SEO with the Google business profile. So DoorDash, the DoorDash, of course, you're not going to read an article from DoorDash because you're hungry. You're not going to DoorDash to look for their articles, but they know the power of articles. Why? Today is April 11, 2025. This article, they wrote it back in March 28th, 2024. It's a 10-minute read, and they say 73% of customers start to browse for food on an online app or just online. And now they even have another one that talks about the trends, right? And you can see it. So they have articles on their website, and you have a restaurant on DoorDash that doesn't have a website or a link that takes them to your blog. So it's the same concept. And sometimes I'm wondering why is it that companies or restaurants don't really value SEO? Like you said, they probably have never experienced it or don't see the need for it, but they see some doing well with it and they just don't care. Do you know why, John, Brandon? Does anything come to mind?
So my mic, I couldn't unmic. Sorry. It's too much work for them, and they don't, like most businesses, understand the value. And like every business, they want the quick triggers, they want the quick wins, and so they don't get it, and they will never get it. Is because they're always just literally opening up the restaurants and closing them, cleaning and servicing the customers and stuff like that. So they just will never get it. They don't spend enough time. I mean, that's our biggest problem in general with small proprietors, right? And so, but then you have to flip again the table, and you have to kind of think about from their perspective, and then try your best to hopefully, like I have another friend, for example. It's not really a restaurant, but it is. It's called Seattle Fish Guys or something like that. They sell raw fish and serve up poke and stuff like that. They ended up getting suckered to buy a $25,000 website, right? But they did, excuse me, need to pay more than a few $1,000s at most. And they probably get most of their business through referrals, to be honest, in social media. Because Des, the owner, who's a college friend of mine, she's just a really good community person. She's just always running around to help her husband Sal and stuff, and that's the only way you're going to really find them out. So I mean that was a lot of waste in the website. My opinion, and sorry if I'm just coming off real hot here, but is you got to do your GBP. That's number one. You got to optimize the fuck out of that, right? They got to hit every single little piece of that to make sure it's showing up. But the problem is that a lot of times each of the different SERPs, or rather the specific points for, like, if you're a pizza restaurant, or let's say you're a pho shop, or whatever the case may be, someone's already dominating with hundreds, if not thousands, of reviews in each of the different areas. So you got to be kind of creative to frankly show up. Unfortunately, it's not the website in my mind. It's actually other means. So when I examine like restaurants, it's again, in my mind, it's not the websites. It's potentially doing a little paid advertising. It's the GBP. But I'd have to also think about it more, because my whole thing with any niche or vertical is you got to really understand how many people are searching. Like you kind of described some of it, right? But how many people are searching in different ways, or are they going by the referrals? And you listed a lot of the stuff. Personally, for me, I'm not eating out all the time, but whenever I feel like pho, or whenever I feel like sushi, I'll look for something near me, or I'll know some kind of restaurants. I'm in Vegas now. I don't know if I've given you an update, but I live in Vegas, where there's a lot of fucking options for almost every fucking thing. I have a whole big ass list of restaurants I need to still try, but most of them, that I end up going to, are either referrals, or somebody popped it in. One thing that I tried actually when I moved here, just for the fuck of it, just out of fun, is I Ubered for a little while, and while I was Ubering, I needed food once every shift, and I had like three go to restaurants that I went to, and so they were my de facto restaurants. Once in a while, I would search for something else, but it was a lot of, and I don't know if I represent the majority or if I represent the minority, but because everything's gotten so fucking expensive these days, I'm looking for the cheap places, or the places that are not going to cost me more than $20 a meal, right? So I'll look for the Cafe Rios of the world, or I'll look for a cool Japanese restaurant once in a while that's kind of affordable. I won't look for like the sushi places that often. I'll trip into them. I eat pho every day if I possibly can. So I have my favorite pho place, but I'm not doing, frankly, a lot of searching after a while. So there's an initial period when you're citizen of whatever city that I would say you're searching, but then eventually you start to learn which places you like to go to, and it's rare that you're actually searching for something new. That's my 2 cents, or my opinion on how people eat out, but again, I'd have to think about this more. I do love the topic, and I love everything you've said. But to answer the question about why they don't do SEO, is they don't see any value in it, and it's really really hard. Even dentists, I've worked with, have a hard time truly seeing the value of it. They just do it because sometimes they just have to be competitive. I mean, it's like they're not showing up number one for the local Issaquah dentist search or something like that. And I think it runs the whole gamut. I mean, any SEO in here probably knows this. But as far as restaurants are concerned, I think they're the worst, because they have the most challenges when it comes to trying to do anything to help their business. Because I agree with you, it's sad.
It's definitely sad. And even Austin said it too. It's a slow build. Like, it's bad. And that, I think restaurants is one of the businesses that it's like you have a higher chance of failing than winning. With restaurants, there are few of them, and I believe restaurants is one of them. Yeah, you're right, Brandon, for sure. Because it's hard to keep somebody entertained, happy, satisfied, coming back. It's a lot of work. And there's some restaurants that are never, closed on a Sunday, on a Tuesday, on a Friday. They're never closed. On a Monday afternoon, night, midnight, they're still open because some restaurants just know what they how they service people and how people connect. So it's just a matter of getting to know where you serve from and how you do things. And that way you're able to even have a much better response online. But definitely if you have a restaurant, being on top of the search is so important because there's no other way to show up online rather than just having that kind of situation showing up for you.
So favor. One quick thing I didn't get to share is we ran a restaurant. We ran a Chinese restaurant years ago, and what I remember from it is when you open up a restaurant, those first 24 hours to sometimes like your first week is your make or break point because you if it's new, people are kind of interested in the possibility that your place is actually good, and they're going to be judging you not only the food but obviously the service and all the other aspects of restaurants. But it can make or break. So if you don't plan that period out, like you don't do the shit before, like what we're talking about today is SEO and a few other things, you could actually kind of literally go bankrupt in the first week. What happened was we ended up being so busy that first week, and making lots of mistakes, by the way, that we ended up closing the business. I think after 6 months, is from what I recall. We just poorly managed the business too. So that's the other thing is I don't know how these restaurant owners are actually managing their businesses because the majority that I've ever seen rarely have everything fine tuned, like the customer service. I mean, the reason why they open restaurants is because before they opened it, it's like, oh, okay, I have something that's tasty, right? I have something that's really good. I think I can sell a lot of people it, and I got to open up a restaurant to do it. But they haven't figured out all the other things that they need to do, and so a lot of restaurants are kind of shitty on that level. So, I would argue that they need to get all that figured out, just like any good product in any company, right? You get that shit figured out first, and then you go to the marketing, or you might work on the marketing and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things that when you continue talking about restaurant marketing slash what it takes to survive and prosper, there's so many elements. And it is sad to me that a lot of them fail because I mean, a lot of them have good food, right? And that's the other thing. Once they get going, like I have a few favorite restaurants in Seattle. Whenever I go back, once they get going and they have a consistent, feed of business or whatever you want to call it, a flow of business, they have an opportunity to get to that next level. So this is the type of business I would argue that favor or experts in the restaurant SEO or marketing field need to target are these businesses that do well, but could do way better if they did all their marketing stuff correctly. Unfortunately, it's the individual restaurants that can't are probably not your ideal customer, and vice versa. It's tough for them, and I wish there was a solution for the individual proprietor because, yeah, most of them do fail.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if they all had the starting point and they all had their SEO right and people searched for them and found them and they said, hey, leave us a review on your way out or while you're eating the food or at least, as you're waiting for your bill, whenever you're doing it, at least doing it in the place of is a great thing because once you get in your car and you're gone and you're hungry, now you're full, now you're sleepy, now you got work to do. You're not going to think about that review you were supposed to do a week ago, and you won't think about that until you go back to that same place. So the chances are even slimmer and slimmer and slimmer because you're not really thinking about that first time action priority task, which is letting them know within that first few hours, like you said, Brandon, on getting them into that position to actually connect. So it's super important. If you're listening to this as a restaurant owner, don't give up. Just do your SEO correctly because you actually have a much better position of ranking than some other restaurants because there are some platforms that are not doing as much as you could be doing. It's just that you're focusing on social media to post, which is great. But if your website is also dormant at the same time, it's going to be hard for you to do. So we're going to dive deeper into that. And it's called dish keywords. You have to think about your dish keywords. When you have a menu, when somebody's reading that menu, the way it sounds is what they're thinking about. If it's turkey glazed or turkey roasted, the way they're hearing those words in their head and the way they're processing it is based on how you presented it, the font, the style of the font, right? When you think about the restaurants, even you think about your font style, that font style also has an accent into your food, into the taste of the food, the ambiance, the colors, the lights, the music, everything is just based on the experience. So don't just think about the food, think about the keywords in that dish that people are really looking forward to tasting because you have that recipe and you have that secret sauce. So I hope this helps you, and I hope I was able to cover this well. If you need more of this, just let me know, and I'll be able to tell when I look at the analytics for sure. And Brian, thanks for being here. I see you as well. Mukhtar, Shari, Judith, Candice, Austin, you all appreciate it. It's been a great room. Brandon and John has been great as well. John, do you want to say anything before we go?
No, sir, I'm good. Thank you.
You are welcome. Yes, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Let's connect. Let's get this done. And let's get your SEO for your restaurant popping because it's very important to taste your food. There's some foods that if you just knew that they were online, you could definitely enjoy the experience. But it's up to you to decide how you want to show up online. So yeah, reach out, let's talk, let's make sure it works well. And it will work well if you do the job and if we do it right for you too. Everything will work out just as fine. So thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And I'm gonna see you guys in the Clubhouse streets soon.